Hello and welcome to today's Tinto Talks yapping session that I do, where I have a look at all of the developer comments that have been said over the past week, and I let you know the most relevant, most important, and the things that you should keep up to date on. And of course, we had the developer diary on the societal values. We had the developer diary on the Oceania region, but as per usual, we will be starting with the Saturday building, which has quite a lovely amount of information in it. So, let's get right into that. We have here the Port Authority, an age Reformation building that can have multiple levels and can be built in any town or city with a port. By multiple levels, of course, it means you can upgrade it, right? It means something similar to how you would imagine it in Imperator Rome. If you've played that game, you can build several levels of various buildings. Some are capped at 3, some have infinite caps. So this one has multiple levels. You can't just build a single one in a single location. You can build more if you so desire. It gives some trade capacity, gives some market protection, gives some burghers trade capacity. It requires naval goods and paper is what I'm pretty sure that's called naval goods. I remember guessing it and getting it spot on the last time this popped up. So if that is naval goods, we're good. We're good. Port Authority oversees maritime traffic, enforcing regulations, collecting tariffs, and ensuring the safe flow of goods and business through the harbour. And usually, or I'd say most commonly, when we look at the Saturday building, all we get is this. There is no further commentary from Johan. He doesn't generally answer too many questions on the Saturday building threads, but today is a little bit different, and we have a monster of a response, which I am delighted about. Eden here asking how many levels are there, not just for this building, but in general. Is there one for each age, or does it completely depend on the type of building? Johan's response here: usually the amount of levels you can have depends on the total population, the building category, the development, and the advances, etc. Now he's just taking numbers out of thin air. So a workshop type of building, like the early game production ones, like Saltpeter Guild or Tools Workshop, can have, let's say, 5 levels as a base. So that means you can build 5 levels of this, Saltpeter Guild in the same location. Queue up 5 buildings, essentially. And then +1 for every 50,000 people living in the location. And then +1 for every 10 development, while a late game mill could have 10 as a base, +2 per development, etc. Why does development impact some buildings? Well, it's to represent the history of a location and the infrastructure of the place. So Venice can have more jewelers than, let's say, Damietta at the start, even though they have very similar population. Population, why does that impact some buildings? It did not used to until they decided developing content in China and India, where single locations had more populations than some regions in Europe. Now we have an internal joke about when we need to rework a system. Did Yuan break it again? That's kind of funny, and it's funny that they have these kind of elements, right? These kind of internal developer jokes. Because I remember there being some kind of thing with Victoria 3 during development as well, where the joke was, did they rework the market system again for the 17th time or something along those lines. But anyway. It's kind of funny, as the English pronunciation of Yuan is not far off how people at the office pronounce my name after they've learned the H is silent and Yuan. Johan. Wait, okay, I didn't know this. It's, alright, little bit of an anecdote. My wife is Swedish speaking as her primary language. Johan is, of course, Swedish. So every time that I have been recording and saying Johan's name, I've been going Johan. When my wife listens to my videos, she critiques my pronunciation of the name and say it's closer to Johan with a oo. And apparently the H is silent, so it's Yuan? Yuan? Hey, how about next time we have a chat, Johan, you can tell me how you would like your name to be pronounced, and I will change it to that, of course. Anyway, why do advances impact it? Some buildings that get a new tech level, a new level each age through an advance, and we have that so we can spread the power through the game and make it more fun to upgrade. That's fair enough. I will say, though, we're going to need some hella UI help when it comes to buildings and upgrades and such, because It's kind of a nightmare to think we've got this many locations in basically every region of the world, and each location can have its own individual buildings. There are more buildings. There are ways to upgrade those buildings. We're going to need some real good UI to really make that fun, because imagining this system in Imperator or in EU4, like it's a nightmare. So we're gonna need some. Yeah, I'm just saying we're gonna need some help here. Why is there a cap? To balance the game, to make some buildings useful, to increase diversity, and to limit economical crashes. Fair enough. Some buildings, like a castle or royal court, only have one level, but a castle can be upgraded to another type of fort. And to clarify, if he has 20 Tailor's Guilds and build a new level of Tailor's Mill, or whatever it's called, they will remove a level of the Tailor's Guild as it's an upgrade. It will not remove all levels at once, as that's kind of bad for the player. That's interesting. So, EU4 terms, you can have a workshop, your admin level 5 production building, and a counting house, your admin level 23 off the top of my head, production building in the same location at the same time. That's very interesting. That is very, very interesting. Okay, I am very interested about that. Yeah, building system. I'm so glad that it's got way more depth. I'm so scared that the depth is going to be really hard to access. Like, accessibility is going to be everything in this game. That wasn't the only comment he left in this. We have here a couple more. Did I miss something? Is market production a new mechanic? Hasn't been discussed before. Is it the topic of next week's Tinto Talks? Market protection is a part of the mechanic that makes your location stay in your markets. It's a defensive stat versus the offensive stat that is market attractiveness of the market. So if you're England and you have good market protection, then Calais could be in the London market, even if Antwerp is next door and has very high market attractiveness there. Yeah, so it doesn't look like that is what is going to be the Tinto Talk that we have on Wednesday, which is a rework of something we've seen before. But, you know, it'd be interesting to see what that is. I'm very curious. But, yeah, this isn't the new thing, it seems. And what is the upgrade? Is it the Harbour Master? None. If there is an upgrade, you would see it like the Bastion. So if we go and open the Tinto Talk construction thing on the Bastion again, you can see that you see the upgrade path right here. And then a few more. I know it's self-explanatory in this case, but can you put an icon to show that it's a coastal and port-only type of building, and should also do it for the capital as well? So here again, we have feedback asking for things that make sense, especially UI things make a lot of sense. And then Johan, seeing that, thinking it's a good idea, and then expanding on that. Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do it for this as well. Perfect. Love that kind of thing. Quick rundown, because I haven't exactly got it in the Trade Tinto Talk, but how do resources move between markets? Let's assume I'm playing Great Britain. I own locations in both Paris market and the Jakarta one. Since I can buy in the Jakarta market, the spices I buy there end up in my national stockpile. I assume there's a question mark at the end here. Resources only move between markets. There is no national stockpile at all, only a market stockpile. Locations buy and sell in their own market in order of trade access in the market. So, yeah, just going back over, rehashing how trade works. And then finally, what do you mean for a while? Like, how long is a while? And yeah, no big fan of market hopping, to be fair. I imagine playing Magic Heat, conquering Indonesia, and then seeing a fifth of my income get slashed down because Friesland and Florence each got a location in me. Doesn't seem to be fun. And yeah, the guy doesn't really understand how the trade works. First of all, the disclaimer that if you, as a mighty Majapahit empire, manage to lose actual territory close to your market to, let's say, Florence, without them being a far mightier empire than you, sounds rather unlikely. Basically, you just got called out for being a skill issue. Anyway, if Florence managed to have merchant capacity and a trade center close enough to trade with, let's say, Malacca, which is probably somewhere in India or maybe the Horn of Africa if it's mid-game, even then, it's a few factors that make it very unlikely to be bad for you. They need to have a higher merchant power or trade advantage in your market, which relies almost 99% on infrastructure in that market, and infrastructure that you can destroy if conflicts arise. And the goods they get access to that you don't have the capacity to or interest to export will get a higher demand, driving prices up, making your locations richer, and you can earn more taxes. See, my huge issue, my big complaint, my seething hatred for E4's trade system is that the locations or the places upstream of trade that you're pulling out of don't get any benefit whatsoever, like literally 0% benefit from other people trading with you. Trade is entirely 100% with not a single decimal point percent lower theft. Trade in EU4 is theft without any percent point of difference, right? It is theft. Here, it's not. If we've got some Italian fucks trading and taking goods from Majapahit will gain benefits from that. Trade is trade, and that is so nice to see. So nice to see. And I'm ecstatic and excited, and yeah, I hope that comes across, you know? But anyway, that is enough of the Saturday building with a minor divergence to explain trade once again. And we'll move on to the Society's dev diary. And of course, I'm going to show this artwork off. I know people generally sometimes don't like it, but whatever. This wasn't shown in early enough for me to have it in my video on Wednesday. So just sharing it off here. I like it. It's cool. It is, once again, a tiny picture in the game that has been blown up to quite a large scale for the dev diary, so you're probably going to be seeing it at this scale. And at this scale, it looks, I think, pretty freaking good. It looks fine. But anyway, let's have a look at what we have in these development comments. So, can you provide examples of the starting societal values of some countries? I'm more interested in Aragon and Castile, but anyone would be useful. So, Aragon is being shown here. They have shown the various starting societal values of the country. Centralization versus decentralization at 50. So I think this is 50 towards centralization, right, on the right-hand side. Then aristocracy versus plutocracy, they're minus 20, so they're closer to plutocracy. Or maybe that's the opposite way around. I actually don't know. So if you know, let me know in the comment section below. But yeah, we've got them here. Quantity versus quality, they're a bang in the middle. Belligerent versus conciliatory, minus 10, meaning they're closer to one than the other. Maybe it's belligerent that they're closer to. I really can't tell from this. Would Aragon count as a centralized or decentralized country? Actually, I think it'd probably be centralized. So positive number on the left, negative number on the right is my guess, but it is at the moment a guess. It could be that I'm forgetting something from the developer diary as well that would more accurately, tell me which this is. But I'm gonna go with negative and positive. I don't know. Positive, negative. Okay, that's where I'm going. Either way, these are the ones for Aragon. What's going to be the balance of societal values across the Old World in the 14th century? Will starting values broadly range, or will they be approximately equal? Countries will have severely different setups. I love that. I love that. In E4, of course, you have a problem where damn near every country, I think probably every country, starts with a single government reform and nothing else. No one is advanced enough to have a second government reform. Almost no one is advanced enough to have, or has enough flavor, let's say, to have starting estates, even. Basically, unless you have a DLC kind of dedicated to you, and usually these are negatives, you generally don't have starting estates. Like, usually if there is starting estates, it's a mission tree, element to get rid of these negative estates. I'm thinking of the likes of Byzantium here. And thankfully, it looks like that's just not here, right? Every country is going to be unique in their societal values at the start of the game, which I think is a really good thing. Really good thing. Here saying, will there be one view of all of the societal values of your country, and what will it look like? So yeah, there is going to be some UI element that will show all of your societal values easily, which is great. I'm not sure if it's going to be like that until the end of the life cycle of Project Caesar, because here we have a question about how many unique societal values will there be. Or at least there's not that many, right? We've been shown all of them so far. In a decade's time, probably many. So this is an area that they're targeting as we could do more here over the life cycle of the game. And I'm sure this guy here is like, DLC mentioned or referenced or whatever. Gotta hate on that. But at the same time, the game will not be. I mean, the game on release will be a complete game, but we are also aware and anticipating, and I would say pretty hopeful for a decade of post-release support. Like, of course, whether that comes in the form of DLC or whether it comes in the form of free updates. I mean, obviously people will be wanting more in the category of free updates than DLC, but, both is fine by me. I just want more, The release game is not the final end product, and that doesn't mean the game isn't going to be complete on release. It's just going to mean, we're getting more, and that's a good thing. But more. Moving on. Let's go. Can we ask a cabinet member to move one of the societal values to -100, or always move to 100? Well, basically, you can ask them to move to minus or positive 100. So, in the dev diary, it was mentioned that the cabinet members can, shift the needle. I guess it wasn't really clarified which way they could shift the needle. They can shift it both ways. Whenever a strategy game offers the choice between technological progress and anything else, tech progress is nearly always the better option, as it eventually gives the opposing sides bonuses. So what stops innovative from doing the same thing as Traditionalist does, but better? So Johan saying that the impact on research is maybe 2% at the extreme over a full game. This is way less than I was expecting. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting way more than that. If we go back to here, we've got traditionalist versus innovative is this one right here. At the moment, it looks like -20 is arrogant. I don't know. We're not going to dwell on this. But I had basically come to a conclusion on which one I thought all of these were better, right? Which one of these were better in all of the categories. And maybe if we go to the innovative one, it doesn't give any hard numbers, unfortunately, but I had imagined that innovative would be just better for the game. But if we're only getting 2% at the extreme over a full game, I don't know. That feels pretty low. That does feel pretty low. It depends on how many more techs am I going to get. Am I going to get 2% more technologies over the course of the game? I don't know. So, yeah, either these are way less impactful than we're all imagining, or they're just quite balanced. I don't know. I'd be interested in hearing people's thoughts on this one. How impactful do you want these societal values to be, and should innovative be hella impactful over traditionalist in different ways? Because yeah, I would have agreed with Narelle here, but yeah, this is a strange one. It's hard to parse. Agreed with the thought that -50% fort defense seems immensely harsh. This is something I had brought up in my own commentary as well. Maybe the equivalent of fort maintenance could be higher in offense countries because they have less experience defending such places and thus are rather inefficient at it. And Johan saying that basically it's not been in the top 10 complaints yet in internal testing. Sure, fine. However, is it the 11th highest complaint? This is one of the ones that I brought up because I am very convinced that defensive is just way better than offensive here. And I don't know, people just seem to not agree. There's a comment later who basically went through all of the things that he thought was better or worse, and he put offensive as better. And I'm just like, no, we did not read the same dev diary. Magna Carta, is it a revocable privilege? It's a government reform. I had guessed that it was a unique advance that England was able to get, and they started with. But no, it is a government reform in this game. That's a lot of them. I didn't realize there'd be that many. One problem immediately comes apparent to me. The negative modifiers seem much weaker than the positive ones in many cases. As a result of this, being balanced in value is a bad idea, and you only ever really want to be at the extreme end of a value. Is that intended? Well, it is not easy to get to the extremes. That cabinet member swinging the needle back and forth is one way. There's probably going to be other ways to swing the needle, but not being easy to get the extremes, that's fine. It would be nice if there was some, like, I'm imagining I know that there's a religion in vanilla EU4 that uses this mechanic, but I cannot think of it, so I'm going to call it the Coronite type of religion, because I am hella Anbanar coded. But basically, if you are between, if you have a scale from 0 to 100, from 0 to 33, you have this bonus. From 33 to 66, you have another bonus. And then from 66 to 100, you have a third different bonus. And that kind of way, I could definitely see being a good idea to have these societal values. Being in the middle, I do think, could be something interesting as well. Whether that be positive or negative or mixture of both. And also, of course, we do know that there is going to be a linear scale between the bonuses, between 0 and 100. It might be nice if it includes something at 0 as well, in my opinion. But moving on. From what I understand, each societal value will move towards one extreme or another. Wouldn't it be better to try and reach an equilibrium, like an estate, loyalty, or or prestige? There are, in fact, equilibrium points, but it's not finished yet. That is good to know. I like equilibrium mechanics in these kind of things. That's a good idea, I think. Do societal values have content under the modifiers? There are events, there are impact and limits on what you can do as well. So yes is the answer to that. Subjective opinion, this is one I was talking about. He has some concerns that you can already see a heavy meta. I heavily disagree. He would always want to go decentralized over decentralized. He would always want to go innovative over traditionalist. I agree here so far. Free subjects over serfdom, that's fine. Quality over quantity, I'm not sure about. I think both of these... I basically thought most of them were balanced. I think innovative was stronger than traditionalist. These I thought were balanced. These I thought were balanced. These I thought were balanced. Bro wanted to go offensive rather than defensive. Like, I'm sorry. No. What Dev Diary did you read, my brother? And then, yeah, all the rest of these I thought were pretty balanced as well. He thinks that only liberalism versus absolutism, mercantilism versus free trade, land versus naval, belligerent versus conciliatory, and spiritualist versus humanist were balanced. Johan's response, ironically, he has notes to nerf decentralized and serfdom. Which, okay, fair enough. But, this comment was, no. Just no, brother. As soon as you put this, you know you were wrong. But anyway, moving on. Will there be any drawbacks to the cabinet attempting to alter the values? For instance, I imagine peasants wouldn't really be happy if the societal value shifted towards free subjects, yet the cabinet pursued a move towards serfdom instead. Similarly with the market and the burghers. This is another one of those examples where somebody makes a comment and Johan's, internal cogs start gearing. And he's thinking, yeah, that's a good idea. Could always have an estate preference for each societal value and make them happy or unhappy with promoting it. Look, this Tinto Talks, this comment was made on Wednesday. It is currently Monday. I would think that there is some version of this already in the internal game right now. This seems like a really good idea, and Johan seemed to respond to it. I would not be surprised if there was some element or some basic progress towards implementing this in the game already. Yeah, love it. Comment here from Meth that I am going to go through because there's a response to Meth's comment here. Imp here saying, as these trickle in for months now, I start to question if it's just a presentation of done deals to test the waters, so to speak, or if it's really about feedback and changes. We've literally just gone over something that's feedback and changes. Some things seem too worked out in detail to be restructured now based on the feedback, so what exactly are Tinto Talks about? Meth here saying, and again, Meth not a developer, just a forum user. It's not uncommon for parts of the game to be fully worked out in detail, just to be changed completely again during beta. And Johan here basically saying, or many other times during development, the key thing is to get all core functionality into the game as soon as possible and then keep iterating it or fleshing out over the development, which is, I think, a pretty good way of looking at it. And I think this is a good response to it, really. And then finally, here we have, how are things constructed in EU4? You can pick offensive, defensive, quality, quantity, mercenary, maritime, naval, and aristocratic, plutocratic in one game. Sure, if you turn off the rule that says you have to pick, balanced ID groups, but whatever, sure. Now you have to choose your path, and with increased bonuses for less popular IDs in EU4, sometimes offensive or land, it won't be better than in each playthrough. And here Johan is saying that it is correct. It'll make countries far more different. And yeah, I agree with that. I do think that EU4 ID groups do make countries different as well. In multiplayer, though, there does seem to be some kind of meta that means that you're probably not always going to get that difference showing. But in single player, countries taking different ID groups do make them different. I do also think that societal values will make it even more pronounced, even in multiplayer. So yeah, very excited for that. But that is enough for the societal values dev diary. We're moving on to a little bit of, zoom in a bit, sorry, Oceania. Of course, we had this Tinto talk on Friday, and there are 0 playable countries. We'll get into that. I don't like that. I am being convinced more and more that some of these societies of pops, at least some of them, should be made playable purely because even if it's not historically accurate, like, this is somewhere where gameplay should be outstripping the, reality, right? And some cases, some people have argued that the reality is some of these should be playable, right? If we go to seeing what societies of pops are, they no central authority, that's basically the gist of it, no central authority. Some of these places probably did have a central authority and therefore could be playable. But anyway, the first thing I want to share with you is a map. Not this one, but this one. We have, from the developers this time, and not from Jums, the entire map of the quote-unquote old world, which is awesome to see, the entire map. Of course, we absolutely love and adore Jums for stitching all the maps together, and I assume his map is probably going to be of a higher resolution, because this is just the game zoomed out, whereas Jums' map is the game zoomed in, and then all of the various things stitched together after that. So this is the highest that it zooms in, and if we, go way in, you can see it's quite kind of blurry. So Jums still needed, but it's awesome again to see, the entire map all together, and big fan of that. But yeah, now the constituent maps have been released. Could you post a full zoomed out political map of Europe, Africa, Asia, and Oceania? And then the Reddit map makers will be pleased. Yes, there's even a new continent appearing there. Yes, we have a little bit of Alaska. Very nice indeed. So, commentary on Oceania. Will there not be any countries to represent the Aboriginal people? And yeah, in my video, I did not know if this was still the correct word, and I didn't want to basically put my foot in my mouth by using it if it was incorrect. Aboriginal, still perfectly fine to say. That's on me. I probably maybe should have checked before I made the video, but thank you to everyone who pointed that out to me in the comment section below. I really appreciate that. And I hope it wasn't too jarring to hear me not say the term when I probably should have been able to. Anyway, yeah, were there not any countries able to represent them? I presume the language aren't fully done since there's big lacking of language in such a diverse area. So, could potentially be depending on feedback. And this is where I'm at, right? I think there should be a playable New Zealand tag, Australia tag, probably someone in the Oceanic Islands. I do think they should be playable in some capacity. And I am not of the opinion that Societies of Pops should be playable. I think the idea that Societies of Pops are playable is very wrong. I don't like the idea, but I think some of these countries, some of these Societies of Pops should be made into stated societies. I think it's probably going to be very boring to play as them for the majority of the game, but I still want them to be there. I really do. And then as for languages, they're mostly done, but they're open to review as per usual. Will there be an event decision to grow wine or fruit in Australia? They're thinking of ways to be able to move raw materials around. So in the game right now, there is the trade goods, or the trade goods. Let's just call them trade goods. And unlike in EU4, where uncolonized areas have a big question mark and a chance of gaining different trade goods, All of them are completely 100% solidly set at the start of the game. But that maybe shouldn't be the case, as trade goods will pop up from time to time, especially in colonies where, you come in, you colonize an area, and it's making, this trade good. Or say it's making, sturdy grains or whatever. And hey, this place is in the Caribbean. It would be great to grow sugar. So as a colonizer, should I force this place to change its primary RGO to sugar? I think that should be possible. And maybe here, Australia not having wine at release, but colonizer might come in and say, this is a great place for growing wine. We're importing some grapes, seeds. Let's go and make wine. And, thinking of ways to move raw materials around would be how I interpret that, to be honest. Any progress or change with the playability of Societies of Pops? Meaning, did you have any ideas on how to make it fun, or does the cutting floor still loom over it? So they have plenty of ideas, but the feasibility of them is very low at this stage, to be brutally honest. We'll confirm it in due time, but we would prefer to be honest with the community and not create a non-realistic expectations. My opinion is, let's go and see my opinion. We'll open up the Tinto talk itself, because it shows what Societies of Pops are, right? A Society of Pop is lacking a state properly. They have some complex organizational features, not necessarily all, but some. They have chieftain authority, permanent settlements, agricultural development, and some kind of taxation. But the central authority is pretty weak here, right? So you're getting you probably shouldn't have an army, because there's no central authority to rally that army behind. You shouldn't be getting, trade income and training with production income, because, again, there's no central authority for that to rally around. I don't know, it just feels like these Societies of Pops, the stateless societies, if there is no state, then how are you playing the game? Because you play as the state. You play as the epitome of the state, right? You're not playing as the ruler. You're playing as the country, the mythos of the country. And if you have a stateless society, what are you playing as? You're not, and therefore, I'm in favor of them not being in as playable countries. I'm just more in favor of some of these stateless societies, some of these Societies of Pops being stated, essentially. Even if it is ahistorical or you have to bend some rules to do that. I am in favor of them doing that. Oh god, I think Paradox has either made a good Polynesia and a bad Polynesia. I don't have the time now, but I'm incredibly disappointed in the choice of making all the countries that are definitely organized enough to be settled countries, especially those that are present in EU4, to just be Societies of Pops. It's incredibly disheartening and just a shame. The language and culture diversity is insanely good, but I'm disappointed about no settled countries in Polynesia. Hope you lax your standards a bit to make at least Tonga, Fiji, Samoa, Hawaii, and Maori playable. I am 100% in this corner. I don't care if the standards are laxed. I don't care if the rules are slightly broken here. And, some countries are chosen to be elevated above what they should be. But, yeah, that's where I'm at. It's understandable. We needed to set these country categories to make a first selection based on a realistic historical approach, as we want to deliver with Project Caesar one of the best historical simulations ever. A laudable goal. But as I usually say, we're always open to revision and changes, and that's why we're doing the Tinto Talks and Tinto Maps in the first place, to listen to the community early on. I hope there is some big push towards the community saying, we want some form of playable country in this area. Let's see what the responses to this guy's comment are. Plus 46, negative 11. I mean, plus 60, let's say, negative 11. That seems pretty representative. And then Yashikari here, their comment, plus 52, negative 31. A little bit less, maybe it's because they're saying it's a shame and disheartening and stuff. A bit more emotionally charged, let's say. But yeah, I'm pretty sold on my opinion on this. I do want the rules to be broken for some nations. Finally, does North America in the next Tinto Maps, which is coming on Friday, we were told that basically it was going to be 3 new dev diaries, and it could have been 4, depending on 3 or 4. It turns out it looks like it is going to be 3 new maps. We're going to get current day USA and Canada in the North America Tinto map. and then a new one for Central America, and then a new one for South America. If it was 4, then the the fourth category there would probably be the Caribbean. I wouldn't mind seeing the Caribbean in its own one, but it looks like it'll probably be a part of the Central American Tinto Talk. And yeah, that's it for today's Tinto Yaps, let's say. Let's zoom back in a little bit on this one, and we'll leave that on while I say thank you very much for watching. If you have any comments on anything that I've gone over in this thread, or if there's something that I've missed that has been said, I feel like a pretty good job of finding everything that developers have said, but sometimes I do miss things. So if you've seen anything, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and the next video will be quite soon, as we're going to get the Tinto map rework thread for the Balkans. That's apparently coming today, so I'll probably make a video on that tomorrow, and then on Wednesday we're obviously getting the Tinto maps, the Tinto talks on something that they are going to rework. So it's going to be a week of reworks. Looking forward to that. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.